All right, so good afternoon, everyone. Nwokocha is Madabuchi. I'm an Android engineer. I work with Savix as the lead Android engineer. So I'm very much happy to be here. So today we'll be talking about automating UI testing using Firebase and Bitrise. So let me share my screen. You see my screen? Hello? Can you see my screen? Screen?
Yes, I see your screen.
Okay, all right, yeah, thank you. All right, so today we're talking about automating Firebase Test Lab using Bitrise in Android development. So probably you want to ask, what is Firebase Test Lab? So Firebase Test Lab is a cloud-based app testing infrastructure that lets you test your app on a range of devices and configuration. So you can get a better idea of how it will perform in the hands of live users. Also, Test Lab is this real production device running in a Google data center to test your app. So I just dropped this little illustration here where you go over to Firebase platform, get to the tool, Firebase Test Lab tool, you upload your app, APK or ABB view type, then it will send it down to the Firebase Google data center range of physical and virtual devices so you can test against those wide range of devices. So after testing, it will now give you a test result. Same on the Firebase platform. So what are the importance of Firebase Test Lab? One, you can run and test the app on real devices. So to ensure top-notch app quality, Firebase Test Lab will let you test the application on physical device that would simulate a real usage environment. The second point is it will test your app with ease and convenience. The crawler will navigate your application for testing automatically. So it will report you about crashes with screenshots so that identifying the issues could become more comfortable for you. And the last point here is get actionable results. So the test lab comprehensive test report will offer you actionable insights, including screenshots, you have videos, you have logs, and you also have suggestions on how to improve your app. So to make it easier for you to identify and test app issues. So the next one is the Firebase Test Lab feature. So one, you can test your apps on both Android and iOS. And you can also test your app on real devices. So if your application has both version, Android and iOS, so the Test Lab can offer you both types of device to run your app. Then it's easy and convenient workflow integration. So you can integrate the Test Lab with a Google Cloud command line. You can also test that on Firebase console and even in your Android studio. So you can also do that from there. So now what is Bitrise Firebase Test Lab Step? So Bitrise, first of all, is a mobile continuous integration and delivery system specially designed for iOS and Android native with dozens of integration for your favorite services. Like one of them, of course, is Firebase Test Lab. We also have Firebase app distribution and so many other integrations too. So Bitrise will help you automate the whole development cycle, detecting your commit push to your repository. You can also build your app. You can also sign and modify and even deploy apps to Google Play Store and also App Store automatically. So without you even going to Play Store or Google App Store or Google Play Store to drop your app there. So Bitrise has a Firebase Test Lab step called Better Virtual Device Testing for Android. So that helps you automate the UI testing process and output the results. So how does Bitrise Firebase Test Lab works? First of all, you push your app, build your app or design your app from Android Studio, then you push to any of your code storage preference. You have your Gitlab, Bitbucket. Then automatically it will, one of the steps on Bitrise, which is the Git clone step, will automatically clone your project from any of these code storage platforms and push it down to Bitrise platform. Then from there, in this section, we're talking about UI testing. So it will get that to Bitrise platform, send it to Firebase, and receive a response from Firebase, which is the UI result, and output the UI result for you. So that is how it works. Yeah, thank you for this short slide. Then the next step from here is for us to see firsthand how it works on Firebase platform and also go over to Bitrise to see how it works there. All right, so we're on Firebase platform here. So today we're talking about Firebase Test Lab. So this is the Test Lab. So you click on Test Lab. So it takes you to this section. Here you can run a test, but because of the example of app I'm using, I created 3 screens. So it might take a longer time for us to see that, but I've already built that. Like if you see that started 41 minutes ago. So we'll just go over here for the example, but let's see how it works. So first of all, you run a test. So here you have Robo, and you have instrumentation, you have game loop, you have XC test and game loop. These 2 are for iOS. So Robo. So what is Robo? So Firebase Robo test is a testing tool that performs testing by analyzing the UI structure of the app and simulate a real user interaction. Then instrumentation test. So that test, a test that run on a physical device or emulator. So you have your game loop, which is an emulator for game users, so help to run and also play for your games. So here, let's check the instrumentation. So what you do here, you have to go and build your app. You build a signed APK or AB, whichever one you want to use. Then you browse to the location you saved it and put it here. And you have your test APK also. So this test APK is when you write your UI test, probably using Espresso in Android Studio. So while running that test, Android Studio will generate a test APK for you, which you can also locate in your Android Studio project and put that one here. Okay, let me, yes, I did something. All right, so this is what I did and selecting the test APK. So this is the test APK. All right, so you have added both of them. So now you click continue. Now you have to note something up here because this is a free account. So Firebase says you have a daily quota of 5 physical and 10 virtual device testing execution. So you have to upgrade so you can have more. So what you have to do next is customize. Now this is where you choose your devices you want to test on. You have Pixel 3, you have the API level of 28, and coming down, like I said, these are physical devices in Google Data Center. So going down, you see so many devices. So which you know probably is not possible for you to have these devices in your house because you want to test your app. So but Google made it very easy for you to just see the devices from wherever you are and test from there. So you can select anyone you want and test. But they gave you a recommended device, but you probably want to test on other different screens. So you click on this and you want to test with a portrait device or you want to test a landscape device, landscape orientation, sorry. It's up to you. You select, then you click confirm, then you run your test. But we don't have that much time to wait for the test to finish. So I have already ran the test a few minutes ago. So this one, the first one is instrumentation test and the second one is for Robo. So this is the test that I've run already. So you click on the test to see the results. So like I said earlier, that Firebase Test Lab will give you suggestions on how to improve, give you logs, give you screenshots, and also videos. So these are the test issues. Now you click on the Robo. So this one will give you the crawl duration that it took Firebase 5 minutes to crawl through your app. Has 21 actions, 3 activities that I told you, and crawled and created 33 screens. So also one suggestion, Robo crawl encountered 8 probable login screen. So and this is how it is. Now you have your crawl graph. So this is how Firebase Test Lab crawler did was crawling through all the screens and gave you the screenshots. So you click on the log, you get to see the logs. You click on the screenshots, you get to see all the screenshots. It's hard during going through the app. Then this is also the video. So let me just play a little while. So this will just show you a little part of how the crawler crawls through the app. Then you have your performance section to show you how your app perform, your UI trend, how slow is it, 5%. You have high input latency and so much other information that will help you improve your app. Then you have the accessibility section, which to me is very, very. Here it will give you suggestions, it will give you warnings and give you issues, show you the issues already. So here you would see that it's already highlighting few parts. It's giving you suggestion on examples, sections that you want you to improve your UI on. So let's check for here. You click on view, you get to see it will suggest that consider increasing this item text foreground, so background contrast ratio. So it's giving you suggestions on how to improve the UI. Also here you have a different suggestion for that. Also here, you also have a different suggestion for that. So when you follow up these suggestions and improve your app, definitely your users will enjoy it. So this is for Firebase Test Lab platform. Now let's go over to Bitrise. So in Bitrise, when you log into Bitrise, this is the first screen you would see. Now that will not go over creating a new project on Bitrise because we don't have that much time. So, but when you create a project, you have all your listed projects here, and the one I created is Bitrise UI test. So you click on the Bitrise UI test. All right, so now in this section, you get to see the workflow of how it went down through. So you click on Bitrise build, you see the workflow. Some issues we're trying to build. So now you click on the work. Sorry, my network is bad a little bit. All right, so this is the workflow and these are the steps. So a workflow is the collection of steps. So all this collection of the steps, they all we call a workflow. So these steps are necessary for building your UI test. So the first one is the script. This is the custom script. The reason why I added this is just because my project is using Gradle 7.0 and Gradle 7.0 requires Android 11. So this script is just to bring that Android 11 down to this workflow so it will work properly. Now the next one is the SSH. So this one makes it possible for you to have access to your repository. Then the next one is your Git clone. This step clones your project from your GitHub or Gitlab or Bitbucket. Then you have your Android build step. So what this step does is it will build your project with Gradle and generate the APK for you or AAB. Important input variables you should note. Now this build Android build step has a project location, has your module, your project module, your project variant, and also the build type. So the build type here is, I'm using APK, you can also change it to AAB. If you want to change AAB, you have to click save to save it. So these are important things. And what it does is build your project is cloned from this grid clone step, build it to APK or AAB. Then the next step comes here is the beta virtual testing, which is the Firebase Test Lab step. So what this one does is to get the app part, the APK part, it will get the device it will use in testing. So you have several devices here and several formats on doing that. So you have Nexus 10 to Pixel 2. So the format of changing device here is you have your device ID in the first one, you have your device version in the second one, then you have your device language being the third one, and you have the orientation here being portrait added there. So you can change this with this information you have here. Then the last input, very important thing that is required, is your test type. Do you want an instrumentation test type? Do you want a robo test type, or you want a game loop? So one important thing to note in workflows is the next workflow depends on the one above it. So this script runs because I require Java 11. Now this one runs below this one because it needs to give access, make it very easy for the Git clone to clone your repository without having any issue. Then you need to clone your project so your build can build your project. So when you don't have Git clone, your Android build is not going to build. So you're going to have errors. So when you have your Git clone repository, it will build the Android project, and your Android build will detect the repository as an Android project. Then it will build, get the Android project, get the parts, build the APK, and send it to the beta virtual testing lab. And what this one does is to run the UI test and give you the results. So if we go back, so and also same thing, I probably would not want to run this test because this one will take like 30 minutes before we get our result, and I don't think we'll have that so much time. So you have your build already successful. You click on the successful build. Then you go over to your test report. So when you click on a test report, it takes you to this section where you see the test summary, and in this section you see your Firebase. So you click on Firebase Test Lab, click on test cases. Then you have the performance, how your app performed. You have the video screenshot, how the crawler went through your project. Then you also have your screenshot. Sorry, my network is bad. So you have your screenshot. So this is a screenshot of your project. Let me reload. Now this is a screenshot of the project. The crawler screenshot while crawling through the project. Now this is the video. Also same thing with the one we have on Firebase platform. So this crawler crawls through your Android project. So this is just how it is. Thank you. If you have any question, you can drop your questions.